This might sound backwards, but if you're in a creative rut, adding some limitations can actually make you more creative. Here's what happened when I tried it on this layout. Instead of getting so overwhelmed by my whole collection, all my papers and stamps and dies, I'm taking the Radiant Reminders kit, which is like a home decor kit from Stampin' Up, and using these gorgeous pieces of ephemera and the little pieces of paper that come in this kit to create a layout and just limit my supplies. I'm also bringing in some pattern paper because while I want to limit my choices to get my creativity flowing, I don't want to be too strict because I know that will also make me stop. So I am going to scrapbook these photos from a recent trip to Grand Cayman. And I love these photos. I have not scrapbooked anything about this trip yet, and I'm excited to do it. So looking for photos that are kind of inspiring, exciting, maybe fresh, like you just took them recently, can be a good way to jumpstart your creativity and get you out of a creative rut. But I would also say they need to be photos that are low risk. This is not the time that I would be scrapbooking, like my daughter's birthday or big milestones, first day of school. Things like that, I tend to put way too much weight on, these need to be super special and the journaling needs to be super amazing. So I'm going to take some of this Delicate Dreams paper and work it into this design. I think the natural texture of this kind of like weave pattern is going to look amazing. I might want to bring in some of this green. It's going to match my leaves perfectly. So this I'm going to keep close by in case I see sort of the perfect way to use it. I have all these patterns that come in here too, a little bit of foil. So I feel like that gives me more than enough to work with. I'm going to start by placing my photos first because they are going to be the true star of the show. I'm not going to layer up my product a bunch. I am going to let the photos kind of take center stage. And I have a mix of both landscape and portrait, and then I have a little square one here too. I think maybe I should put this one down on the bottom because it's a little bit darker and kind of visually heavier. I have two of this outdoor party. This was our first night arriving in Grand Cayman, and we had a party down on the beach. We were there with a bunch of people from my husband's company. They do a nice fancy welcome dinner down on the beach, and we were just so ready for a relaxed vacation. We were exhausted from traveling and just life in general. So I want this to be a very relaxing sort of spa vibes on this layout. Besides limiting the product that you're working with, one of the fun things that you can do to help you get out of a creative rut or a creative slump is to switch things up and do a different style. Like find a layout online that you are inspired by. Maybe you normally do clean and simple scrapbooking, but you want to try something layered or mixed media or something like that. It can be the perfect thing to just reignite your creativity and get you thinking in a whole new way. So for me, I like to do lots of layers and inking and usually lots of embellishing as well. So what I'm thinking for this layout is something more clean and simple. I try and channel my friend Janice Gilhooly when I want to do something clean and simple because she is the queen of that. She pulls it off perfectly. That's kind of what I'm thinking today. It lets me have success faster because it's clean and simple, but it stretches me and gets my creativity percolating a little bit more to try something different. Now, especially if your creative rut is kind of coming in more that you feel like you're creating the same thing over and over again, like there's no difference in what you're creating, it's kind of just repetitive. Switching up to a different style can make a big difference as well because then you are getting out of what you normally do all the time, and it just might make you feel a little more inspired. So I am going along and just putting these little leaves under here. I have to figure out exactly where I want things placed. I hadn't planned on including this little square photo, so I have to figure out exactly where it's going to fit best. I am going to overlap my photos a little bit and kind of do more of a collage style because I do want to bring in some of these pieces, cut them down into like little chunks and strips and just have them poking out, you know, around my photos. So I feel like if I offset my photos a little bit more, that will work a bit better. I just have to be careful I don't cover my journaling. I did print my journaling right on my photo. I did this in Canva and it worked out really well. I just printed it in white. There's a few parts that maybe are a little bit tricky because of the texture of the sand in the background. I could have put my journaling on one of these photos where it's like super dark at sunset, but I just didn't want to. I wanted these to be very like calm and peaceful without the busyness of writing. And I didn't want to find another spot for my journaling. That's what it comes down to. Now over on this side, I want to have like a cascade of my leaves kind of wrapping around the corner is what I'm thinking. Just sort of placing things for now because I also need to figure out where I'm going to add some paper layers. So this may not stay the way it is right now. I'm just kind of getting a feel for how I want this to look. I hope you've been enjoying the videos from the creative design team this week. This video is part of a collaboration with my friends on the creative design team. And we've all been talking about creative ruts and how to get out of them. And there's been tons of really helpful tips shared. So I hope you found something that's resonated with you. There are some little like quote sayings that come in this kit. And I was thinking this would be a nice place to add that. Since this is a picture of my husband walking on the beach at sunset, slow down, stay in the moment. That was definitely kind of the theme of this vacation. So that is the perfect little addition over here. I want to slide this down just a little bit because I'm going to have some paper layers coming up here. And I want to put my title along the bottom. Now I need to figure out if I want to add any other layers over here, because I could push this in and add like a strip of this green, but I kind of feel like it's unnecessary. This is a very small amount of paper for me to use on a layout, but I'm really liking the simplicity of it. Now I've gone ahead and done print then cut on my Cricut. This is a font that I use quite often. It's one that I've gotten from Creative Fabrica. It's called Andalusia, I believe. And that is another tip, is find things that you really love and don't be afraid to use them over and over again. I have a handful of fonts that I know I really like, and instead of searching through the whole like font library on Cricut or all my system fonts, I just go to the ones that I know I already like, and it makes my process so much faster. Here, I'm not really wanting my title to stand out very much, so I plan to stick this right down to my page so that it is flat and it's almost like it was printed on the base page. Seafire is the name of the hotel that we stayed at on Grand Cayman, and this is probably going to be the first full layout in that section of my travel album. I decided a while ago, especially if we're going back to places repeatedly, I don't want to do a whole album for every trip. I want to do a few layouts that represent that trip, tell the stories that were maybe unique to that time, and hopefully fit several trips into one album. But by having my sort of go-to supplies, whether it's go-to stamp sets or colors or fonts, it can just speed things up. And even if you're doing like I'm doing and kind of switching up my style a little bit, it just adds some ease, and it's one less thing that I have to really think about. I have these pieces that came in the kit. I have one here that is not foiled. This one is foiled, and I definitely want to bring in a little bit of that foil because a couple of our leaves here have foiling on them, so I think it'd be nice to have a touch of that in the paper pieces. Now, I don't know if I want to have some paper in the middle here, kind of poking up. I don't have enough to like fully matte my photos, so I'm thinking maybe just like chunks that I can have little bits and pieces popping out. I do want this chevron to face vertically, so wherever I end up using it, I want it to be going like across like this. So this is up and down like that. And this is a little bit nerve-wracking part because this is the only paper that I have of these. I don't have a backup kit or anything. So once I cut it, that's the piece that I have to work with. And so I'm trying to think it through a little bit before I start cutting so that I'm not disappointed with my results after the fact. I'm thinking too, I also want to offset the patterns so that I have them, you know, like maybe in this bottom corner, I have this one, and then maybe I have the same pattern in this top corner over here. Whatever I do on one page, I want to mirror it somewhere on the other page. That helps create balance and kind of makes it look like it all goes together. Really, I'm just delaying cutting this paper is what's going on. So maybe what I'll do, I'll start by cutting this in half, and then I can start to figure out what I want, because I could also hollow this out and save that piece and put it somewhere else. So I'm just going to nestle that in here for now. I want sort of that collage look to it. And it's okay if it overlaps this piece over here. I'm fine with that. These are all very neutral colors. They're all very soft. So I did intentionally pick pictures that had some color. I got some strong blues, greens, still very calm and peaceful, right? They're not like hot pink or anything, which I think would also work nicely with this. And then I'm going to repeat that over here. Now I can also make maybe this one come down and overlap on here. And then I would like a piece to fit in there. So let's see. Because I have more leaves on this side, I feel like this side needs less paper, where this one is a little bit more empty. I would like to use that whole piece there, but what if I just cut off a little strip here from either the top or the bottom? And then I can maybe layer that over here so I have some repetition. And then this piece can come in like that. And then I feel like I'm gonna need a little something in here, maybe a little tab, a little wordy bit, as I like to say. And I like how this is looking. I feel like it's a good balance with the little layers that I have going on and then the large leaves that I have. I just wanna see if, you know, I want to add anything else, maybe this coming out from under my photo. The other embellishments that we have in this kit are like moths, which I don't feel really go with what we have happening here. I mean, they could work. It just doesn't scream like beach to me. We do have like glue dots, foam dots, and some little black sequins, but I think I might go to my stash to find some other gems. And I do still have more leaves that I could work in. I am debating maybe adding another one over here. Another option is I could bring in some like starfish or sand dollars or something like that from stamps and dies that I have in my collection. But I kind of don't want to do that. My goal was to keep this simple and not let it get too busy, because that is definitely something that I can tend to do, which is fine, but I want to have a little bit different feeling to this page, a little bit more pared down. Off camera, I stepped back and had a little look at my layout to see how it's coming together, and there was too much going on this side with the leaves. It was kind of getting too far away from me, and it wasn't as simple as I wanted it to be. So I moved my leaves around a little bit, and this is what I came up with. I like this much better. And I also decided I would like a little touch of bling here at the edges. So I cut some gold foil sheets. These are just like 1/4 of an inch right around there. And I'm gonna just end cap it with that, just add a little extra something. And now really all I need is something in here. And so I went and grabbed something new. This is launching in May. This is the Here and Now Mix and Match Ephemera. And so I was looking through to see if I could find, you know, some sort of like tab or subtitle or something that would work with the colors. These are really cool because they are stickers. So they are kind of like a thin chipboard feel to them, or like heavier cardstock. They're also sticky back. So once I figure out what I want, I can just stick it onto my page. I think either one of these colors would go, and both are generic enough that they would work. And so this is what I'm thinking I want to put here. I want to pop this out and leave the backing on it so it's not sticky right away and I can play with it. I wonder if I take this tag too and maybe make this into kind of like a little cluster. Maybe move it this way. I do like that, and I think it fits with what I have going on here. I'm gonna let that live a little bit. I'm not sure how I feel about the blue. It does match pretty well, the blues that I have going on in my photos, so I'm not worried about that. But then I will need to bring in like some twine or something to put through the hole. So I'm gonna let that live there for a minute while I think about that. I'm kind of thinking that I might wanna rip the bottom edge or like the top edge of these pieces to give it some texture and make it match kind of the more rustic feel of this Delicate Dreams paper. This paper is actually back in stock now. It was out for a while, but it just restocked. So if you're interested in getting your hands on that pack, now is a good time to grab it. And then one of the other things I need to figure out is what kind of gems do I want to put on it? Because I feel like I do want to have a little scattering of gems around my clusters, just to add a little something extra, a little twinkle. I have these iridescent foil gems. They are clear with iridescent flakes and gold glitter inside of them. And I feel like this would be something subtle that won't draw all the attention, but adds a little extra twinkle to it. So I'm thinking that might be a good one. I was also looking at these streak dots. These came out in the fall and these are gone. These ones are in last chance, but these ones are gone already. But they kind of look like wood. And I thought those would look kind of cool, but they might draw too much attention because they are darker. And I'm not sure I want them to stand out that much and kind of steal the show. So I think I'm gonna go ahead, rip these pieces, being careful not to take too much of the paper off because I don't want to lose what little bit of paper I do have. I just want to give it some texture. And by ripping towards myself, I get that nice white exposed edge. Now I'm sure if you've been watching all the rest of the creative design team this week and hearing all of their wonderful ideas, you've probably already heard, but just in case, I'm going to tell you guys again, the creative design team membership, our private group where we teach in-depth classes every week, is open for registration right now. And we only open a couple times a year. And right now we are open and taking new members. So I will have that linked below for you if you want to go check it out. I'm excited because at the beginning of May 2nd, we are having a CDT membership crop. So we are all going to hop on Zoom together and just have a great time scrapbooking, chatting, and we have such a fun community. That is definitely one of my favorite things, is what a supportive and kind community we have. Everybody's encouraging each other, getting ideas and giving ideas, sharing their artwork. And I think it's so much fun when we can be inspired by each other. I know the rest of the creative design team definitely inspires me. And I know I've definitely used some of that inspiration to get me out of a creative rut many times. Now I'm just going to add a little finishing touch with my gems here. It just feels like it's the last thing that I really need on my page to bring it all together, add a little bit of extra sparkle, especially on pages that are a little bit more minimal. I feel like it's a great way to fill in those gaps. If there's anywhere where I just feel like it could use a little extra something. I love how this layout came together. This kit made it super easy. And it's definitely a little bit more clean and simple compared to what I typically do, way less paper, but I love the finished look of this page. And I hope you will go and check out the playlist with the rest of the creative design team videos, as well as come join us over in the membership. The link for that will be in the description box below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon with another video.